The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
The next time I'm crafting with my kids, I'm making a paper bag so I can wear it the next time I do this podcast.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the postcast here on Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, coming to you after a 4-0 loss to the Detroit Red Wings. And man, oh man, I'm already feeling bad for Canucks fans here. Oh my God, look at this. We got a Vancouver Canucks fan watching this episode here on YouTube. He's from New Jersey. He had to stay up till 12:45 a.m. watching this game. My God, this is why the West Coast is the best coast, at least in terms of watching the game. But there's not much point watching these Vancouver Canucks games right now. Again, a 4-0 loss to Detroit Red Wings. And look, it was an interesting game in the sense that the Canucks, they pressed early. But there's just no life in this team, man. There's really not. But what I want to talk about is who is the real tank commander for the Vancouver Canucks. I think there's a few candidates here. And also, as we get into this episode, I will get into a new Hughes contender emerges. Okay, it's not all bad in Vancouver tonight because this contender for Quinn Hughes, this might drive up the bidding. So let's end on a good note here. But for the Vancouver Canucks tonight, I want to start with the goaltending, all right? Kevin Lankinen. The Canucks made a big bet on him, the 5-year deal. And I'm seeing some comments after the game tonight. Like, is the Kevin Lankinen contract the worst contract on the Vancouver Canucks? I mean, you saw it tonight, 3 goals on 13 shots. And the defense is hanging him out to dry, but he is looking a little scrambly in there, and he hasn't looked like the Kevin Lankinen from last year on a lot of nights. And, of course, he gets the hook. Nikita Tolopilo comes into the game. Doesn't have too much work there in the third period, but you got two Canucks there that, we hear all this stuff about the new dad energy. Well, I'm telling you, he's a dad of 2 kids. That's mostly a lie. There's no new dad energy. I mean, look, it's great to have kids in the world. It's great to have more to play for, but you're sleeping less, all right? And, some guys can fight through that. We saw that with Bo Horvat when he had a kid. Connor Garland had a good stretch of hockey after his kid was born. But for the most part, man, it's extra work. And I wonder if Kevin Lankinen maybe isn't sleeping enough. Nikita Tolopilo, very new into fatherhood. Not a lot of sleep in that stage either. But, again, at least he looked calm, cool, and collected on Saturday night. Again, that contract is looking like such a misfire for the Canucks. And you got why they did it at the time. The safety net behind Thatcher Demko. But that was a big contract and a big commitment. And really the purpose for it was Thatcher Demko is going to stay healthy. And now we have Kevin Lankinen. It's all good. We got the safety blanket. But we've seen now over a year plus of Kevin Lankinen in Vancouver, he's fine in stretches. But when he plays too much, that's a death sentence. And look, we're still early on in the season. At this point last year, Kevin Lankinen was still doing good things. But it has not worked out for the Vancouver Canucks this year. It didn't help that the Canucks were going up against another Canuck killer, right? So not only is Lankinen struggling, not playing great hockey right now, but they go up against John Gibson, who has owned the Canucks in his Vancouver career against the Vancouver Canucks. Coming to this game, .928 save percentage against the Vancouver Canucks in his career. That's the best mark he's had against any team, and he only increased that tonight by stopping 35 shots against the Vancouver Canucks. But look, when I watched this game tonight, for the most part, my takeaway was that, as we know, most players are not tanking. Like, I still think this team is playing a little bit individualistically. They're not necessarily playing as a cohesive, tight group. I think part of that's coaching. I think part of that's the chemistry lacking with a lot of new guys in there. But for the most part, the players are trying. I feel like Connor Garland is definitely a player that's trying out there. Brock Besser, the puck was, again, some Brock Besser haters out there for sure, but the puck was mainly in the Detroit end of the ice when he was on the ice tonight. But for the Vancouver Canucks right now, again, with most of the players trying, Kevin Lankinen not playing great, but not having a good defense in front of him. For me, it falls down to 2 people, and it's the tandem, I guess, of Patrick Oveen and Jim Rutherford. We think of them as the same person in this market here sometimes, or it's Adam Foote. And let's start with the contender of Alvin and Rutherford, because you look at this Canucks team out there tonight, and I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but even though they got Höglander back, like, this is a ragtag group of players. Like, you have Connor Garland and Brock Besser I would say is the only two consistent top six forwards. I know Kane and DeBrusk are playing those minutes. You consider Sherwood there maybe. But after that, it's so many young guys from Abbotsford. And look, we love seeing the young guys here in Vancouver. But man, oh man, this is a ragtag group of players. And it's the team that Alvian and Rutherford created. And I know, again, they're missing players. But again, Filipino was not a good bet based on his health. You're really missing Elias Pettersson right now and Thatcher Demko. And those are two big pieces. But again, they did get those Hooglanders saying the other guys you're missing are like, Teddy Bluger and Derek Forbert. Like, they're not big names. It's Pettersson, Demko, and a lot of guys that aren't difference makers who are missing from the lineup. I know Hedel as well is a big one. But again, this management team chose to bet on Demko and Hedel. It hasn't worked out. And now they miss their only viable NHL center, at least in the top six role, in Elias Pettersson. And it's a recipe for disaster. So I think part of the tank command here, it does fall with Alvian and Rutherford, but obviously they try to build a team that won, and that leads me to Adam Foote, the perfect tank commander for your Vancouver Canucks. And again, he wants to win. I think he's trying out there, but the decisions he's making are helping this team sink to the bottom of the standings. I know he's not working with a lot because of what Alvian and Rutherford gave him here, but even just looking at the game tonight, David Kampf, I know he's the most experienced in this team. We talked about him before. He plays over 17 minutes tonight. Let's just look at the Canuck centers and how they perform lately. Aturatu has been their best center. And I would say Max Hassan's been better than David Kampf too. And then, okay, now you have Drew O'Connor playing center. Guess what? He's also played better than David Kampf. So why is David Kampf playing on the top line with Besser and Garland? And Besser and Garland, to be honest, are actually playing okay out there. Like, I know they've tried Sasson there. It didn't necessarily work, but it looked better than it did with David Kampf. I'm telling you, you try any of those guys up there other than David Kampf, the Canucks are probably a little bit more successful. I mean, Adam Foote, whether he wants to or not, he's helping the tank command here, baby. He's been helping it all season with the lax defensive structure, helping it with his lineup decisions. Even Sherwood tonight, I know Sherwood had, like 17 minutes overall, but a lot of it was special teams time. I'm thinking as well, like, why doesn't Sherwood just play? He's one of the only guys that can score. You probably should have him out there in scoring moments, right? Again, and you look at the defense too. I'm going to point one more thing out. Tyler Myers, man. We got some Tyler Myers lovers here in the comments in Locked On Canucks. But this management team, even with Tom Willander doing what he's doing in terms of leading all rookies in terms of points per 60 at even strength among defensemen. He's 20th overall in the NHL among all defensemen in terms of points per 60 coming into tonight. He's played damn well tonight as well. I would say again, he was one of the best Canucks on the ice. Closing off gaps, getting to his guy. Again, a couple of rookie moments, I'd say once in the third period, who was looking a little lost there. But for the most part, that's a guy that's playing better than Tyler Myers. But yet, you got Tyler Myers playing 20 minutes tonight, Tom Willander playing 15 minutes tonight. Adam Foote is doing things that is harming this hockey team in terms of their ability to win games. And I'm not sure how many more games they win with a good head coach, but I would say probably a few more because the structure is the big one. But his lineup decisions are helping the cause as well. So Adam Foote, again, tank commander number 1 in Vancouver. On the other side, instead of doing report cards, I'm going to try something out. And let's talk more about the individual players. I want to shout out my tank commanders of the game and some goats of the game as well. Again, going through report cards, I'll highlight a couple other players that stood out to me tonight. But again, with your Vancouver Canucks, it did feel like tonight was one of those games where they pushed early. Again, they got scored on late in the first. They gave up 2 in 37 seconds, I think it was, in the second period. And then they just had no bite, no spark, no jump after that. They don't seem to have that Nikita Zadorov-like presence or someone who will motivate the boys between intermission to get them going. That does seem to be lacking in this locker room right now. And I know after the wins, they like to blast the tunes, but where are the guys on this team that are going to step up and motivate the boys when they're behind in a game? It doesn't seem like it's Adam Foote, and it doesn't really seem like it's anyone in that dressing room either. So let's get to the tank commanders and a couple goats of the game here on Locked On Canucks on the other side. On the other side, shout out to sponsor. And again, as we get into this episode, we'll talk a bit more. Again, the biggest news, they tell you in journalism school to start with the lead, but I'm saving the best for last. Let's talk about the newest contender for Quinn Hughes and how this could change the game in a potential Quinn Hughes trade. That's all coming up next here on Locked On Canucks. Before we get to the show, let's shout out our friends over at Gametime. And here's another big story from tonight. Canucks ticket prices are dropping. Man, oh man, I gotta dive deeper in this tomorrow when I'm back at the desk for Daily Hive. But for the most part, early in the season, I was seeing tickets around like $100 cheapest. And I just look for the Buffalo game and you can get them for a sub $50. So tickets are dropping in Vancouver. And if you want to find the cheapest tickets to go see this hockey team or check out something else and help your sanity, man, come on. Find those tickets on Gametime. I'm saving my money for the Seahawks, man. I'm not sure if they're going to play a playoff game. Who knows, man? We have a great month here on Locked On Canucks. Maybe me and Kyle will fly to Green Bay for when the Seahawks beat the Packers. I'm still waiting for that. World Cup tickets, you can also get those on Gametime because FIFA's a pain, man. FIFA's a pain. So go check it out on Gametime. Make sure you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Go down the Gametime app and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Go check it out now on the Gametime app and use code LOCKEDONNHL, baby. Oh, you know what time of year it is, okay? It's time to do the doer, baby. And guess what? That time is every year, but I really feel it during the holiday seasons, all right? Because, man, oh, man, I rock the doers every day because they're comfortable, they're sexy, and I'm buying doers for myself, and I'm buying doers for all my friends and the people I care about over the holidays. You know why? Because we get the promo code, baby, Locked On Canucks. You can use it in-store by visiting our doer friends here in Vancouver at 1757 West 4th Avenue. Check them out in-store. Use code Locked On Canucks for 15% off your first order, or go to doer.ca/LockedOnCanucks for also 15% off. Again, that's DUER.ca/LockedOnCanucks. Again, listen, it's not just the pants, it's the shirt too. This is the Doer shirt, baby. Let's go. Check them out. Doer.ca/LockedOnCanucks. All right. We're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day and every night, through the wins, through the losses, through the good times and the tough. And we know the way it is in Vancouver. There's more tough times than good. Me and Kyle started with the Locked On Canucks bump back in 23-24, covering that playoff run. First day covering the Philip Pronik trade. It was all up for a while, but now we are in my opinion, one of the darkest moments in franchise history. But again, there's still games we play. This is early, man. This is early in the season. You might just want to skip the game and tune into Locked On Canucks, to be honest with you. Because, again, I'll sit through every game for you. I will do that for you. I will sit through every goddamn game because that's what I've done throughout the entire gym betting era. I will keep doing it here because I love these Vancouver Canucks. I know one day I want to know the story for why they went on to win a Stanley Cup. I know I'm dreaming because we're a long ways from that now. But let's talk about some of the good players tonight and some of the tank commanders as well. I'm going to shake it up here in our 5-ish minute for report cards by shooting out the goats of the game and the tank commanders. All right, let's start with the GOAT first. Again, workshopping a new segment. I didn't tell Kyle; he doesn't need to know. It's all good. I'm going to start with the GOATs of the game. One of my GOATs of the game tonight is Jake DeBrusk. And look, if you're an everydayer on Locked On Canucks, you know I have not been kind to Jake DeBrusk. I know he gets the net and he scores those power play goals, but he's been a non-factor most nights. He's been a disappearing act at even strength. He has not been physical in the slightest. That was something we thought he might do when we came to Vancouver. It's mostly been bad in terms of the Jake DeBrusk signing. I will say it. I know he led the Canucks in goals last year. I predicted that he would. But for the most part, he's been a non-factor on a shift-to-shift basis. He really has. But that changed in this game. I know I set up a go to the game by just ripping the guy. But look, he was one of the best Canucks tonight. He probably should have had a couple goals in this game. Unfortunately, he ran into a goalpost, and he ran into John Gibson. Again, I would say one of the saves of the year candidate in the second period off DeBrusk. He hits the post as well, has another chance streaking in. Like, he was all over the place in terms of creating chances. We haven't seen that a lot from Jake DeBrusk so far this season. So I think it's worth pointing out, even when a Canuck for the most part is struggling, when they do something good, and Jake DeBrusk was doing good things tonight. And again, man, oh man, largely playing on a line with Max Sasson and Linus Karlsson as well. He also got some ice time with Aatu Ratu and Nils Höglander, where you also had some moments later on in the game. So I'd say Jake DeBrusk, a rare shout out here for Jake DeBrusk on Locked On Canucks. Let's go to a tank commander of the game. And this is a guy that we've been Slowly criticizing here on Locked On Canucks, Marcus Pettersson. Marcus Pettersson is making the JT Miller trade look even worse than it already was, right? You know, the immediacy of flipping the first rounder for Marcus Pettersson. And me and Kyle were fans, but some of you were. We remember those comments. We don't forget the comments here on Locked On Canucks. But today was another pretty poor game for Marcus Pettersson, in my opinion. Losing his guy on the first goal, more trips to the penalty box as well. We were expecting, again, what we were told with Marcus Pettersson coming to the city is that he could be a top pairing defenseman. And coming to Vancouver, you got Quinn Hughes in the top pair. You got Marcus Pettersson on the second pair. It's going to be all good. This defense is going to be fine. Well, and now all of a sudden, Hughes isn't defending the way he used to. And Marcus Pettersson, sure as shit, isn't defending the way we thought he would in this city. Again, just looking lackadaisical out there in terms of closing his gaps and getting to his guy. For me, I like Marcus Pettersson, man. He's supposed to be a good vibes guy too. Like, no good vibes are coming from Marcus Pettersson right now. I hope I'm wrong. Again, we're not inside that dressing room. We don't know what's going on. I hope he's one of those guys that's standing up, speaking to the team. But it's hard to do that and have that authority when you aren't playing well. And Marcus Pettersson really is not playing well right now for the Vancouver Canucks. So that's one of my tank commanders of the game. Let's get to a GOAT. I'm going to shout out DPD tonight, okay? The reset from DPD has looked to pay off in his game. And I did think he was rough in his first game against Utah. I believe that was the first game that he got back into the lineup in. I was at that game. Didn't like his game that night. It felt a little chaotic. I remember Tyler Myers trying to cover for DPD being out of position, and I'm like, these two are a disaster out there together. But DPD, I think, is stepping in the right direction. Had a good game against Minnesota. I thought he played pretty well tonight. I believe he led the Canucks in terms of their shot attempt differential on the night. Again, push and play in the right direction for the most part. Man, oh man, he was on the ice for 23 shot attempts, 4 and 5 shot attempts against tonight. So there you go, man. That's the eye test matching the analytics there, baby. And DPD, man, DPD and Tom Willander. I do hope that we don't lose these guys in a trade. I don't think that's really the route the Canucks are going down anymore. So I think that's a pretty safe bet to say that Tom Willander and DPD are going to be a part of the solution here. But his game is trending in the right direction. I thought he had a pretty good game tonight. Let's get to the second tank commander of the game. And for me, it's David Kampf, man. And I know you just came to Vancouver. You probably don't even really know about the history of Canuck fans wanting the tank and not getting the tank. But maybe you've read into it and you know what we really want. And you're here for the people, man. You're here for the people. Look, David Kampf, maybe he's saving his game for the Czech Republic in the Olympics. Look, with David Kampf, there's just no offensive vision out there at all. Like he's fine in terms of being a big body and getting in position on a board battle. He can win some faceoffs. But there was an opportunity tonight. I think it was in the second period where he's behind the net. He's got time. He's got either Besser or Garland skating to the net. And what do you see? He rings it around the boards with no defenseman there and it goes all the way down the ice. It's plays like that. And again, I know this guy, has played as much hockey as other guys this season. This has never been a guy known for offense. And now he's the first line center on the Vancouver Canucks. I'll bet you half of Vancouver Canuck fans didn't even know who David Kampf was before he became a Vancouver Canuck. David Kampf, welcome to Vancouver, and thank you for helping the tank charge. Okay, let's shout out one more GOAT of the game. The last guy I had down was actually Connor Garland. I mentioned a bit off the top. I do think Connor Garland is still wheeling and trying out there, trying to get in position. I like his movement on the power play. His shot is really not a threat at all. Besser and Garland tonight were both really shooting pucks into defenders on the power play. So, good on them for trying to get the puck on that. It wasn't really working. But I do like Connor Garland's jump out there. I do think he's trying to credit. I do think he's trying to do something. I don't think he doesn't look like to me a guy who's out there who has mailed it in. So I guess, hey, there we go. Connor Garland at least is trying to boost his trade value. My last tank commander of the game. We talked about him a bit off the top, so we'll keep it short, but it really is Kevin Lankinen. Again, none of the goals were necessarily his fault. You had a tip in there. You had a guy alone in front. On the first goal, I didn't really like the way he kind of lifted his pad and couldn't get his body back into position on the James Van Riemsdyk goal. Again, I know this Canuck it's a lackadaisical group, but for me, Kevin Lankinen, it's just been a pretty tough stretch overall. It's been a pretty tough stretch for Kevin Lankinen. It was tonight. And man, oh man, maybe the polls are reset for him, or maybe He's going to show up again here when we do Tank Commanders of the game. All right, enough about the game. On the other side, let's get to the news about Quinn Hughes and maybe a couple of your comments too as we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. All right, man. Before we get back to it, let's shout out our friends over at FanDuel, baby. NFL Sunday is moving fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. I'm always locked in on the action. Sunday is my Saturday, baby. Working Tuesday to Saturday for Daily Hive. So, man, oh man, I love to sit on the couch. I had a nice moment on Sunday. I was cuddling with my son on the couch watching football, man. Like that's the best. That was the best moment of the year. Mainly because I cover these Vancouver Canucks, but I'll take it. And not only is it a good NFL season, not only is it a good time to get on FanDuel, but man, oh man, if you're a Seahawks fan like myself, you're wearing the blue and green glasses. This is a great season to watch NFL. The Seahawks got a chance to do something. I said it on earlier today on the show. The Seahawks tied for second with the Green Bay Packers in terms of Super Bowl odds. Man, oh man, plus 800 to win the Super Bowl. If you're feeling spicy on the Seahawks, if you're feeling spicy in general, go check out FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com and place live bets on NFL all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right. We're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day and every night. And to me, the biggest story tonight wasn't really about the game because the franchise-altering story isn't a Monday night loss to the Detroit Red Wings in December of 2025. It's the potential trading of Quinn Hughes. And we're going to hear so much noise over the next little bit, but it's interesting to think about where this guy might end up. And I think the news today, whether it's true or not, does add a very interesting wrinkle to the situation. The New York Rangers were the team that were linked to Quinn Hughes today, again, by Dave Pagnotta of the fourth period. And whether you want to believe it's true or not, I will say this. The New York Rangers have shown a propensity to make big, dumb trades when they shouldn't. Right now, they've started to climb the standings a bit. On a bit of a streak lately. I think they've only have 2 regulation losses in their past 10 games. They're 14th overall in the Eastern Conference. They are in the playoff picture, although they have played more games. But the East is wide open. We all know that. Like there's no one running away with the Eastern Conference right now. A GM like Chris Drury probably looks at a guy like Quinn Hughes and says, what if we had Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox on our defense playing in front of Igor Shesterkin? That's got to equate to some pretty good things, right? So I'll say this. I believe that the Rangers would be interested in Quinn Hughes based on what they've done in the past. You want to look at teams who have made deals in the past? Well, the Canucks and the Rangers made a pretty big one earlier this year already. JT Miller, again, he met with Adam Foote and Quinn Hughes here in Vancouver. I think Quinn Hughes and Miller, they get along, right? We saw it even in the U.S. photos in the summer for the Olympic get-together. They were sitting beside each other, right? I think there is something there between the Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks, and I think the Rangers are a team that would make a dumb, bold move to go all in, even when they probably shouldn't. And again, we talked about the ties too to Alexis Lafreniere in this market. I think he's easily a player going back the other way, whether you want it or not. I know he's not a center, but the fact that his cap hit nearly matches Quinn Hughes' identically, the fact that it hasn't worked out for him in New York, I would say that he would definitely be a player going back. And again, Kyle and I talk about loading up on first-round picks. The Rangers, again, gave away a first-round pick for a 30-year-old JT Miller. How many first-round picks would they give away for a 26-year-old Quinn Hughes? 2? 3? Alexis Lafreniere and 3 firsts? I'm not sure what exactly the deal looks like, but I do think the Rangers would be a team to make a pitch for Quinn Hughes. And the good thing about this, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you at least want to get 2 teams in on the action going against each other. Not only that, but how about 2 teams in the same state, in the same division? Now you're cooking with some gasoline in a potential deal. And I know the New York Rangers or the Devils are probably thinking, maybe we'll let the Rangers have this one. We'll wait out Quinn Hughes. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. I mean, the Detroit Red Wings, obviously, they've been reported and had some interest as well. We saw some guys tonight on that team who, we were talking about in potential trade, and the Axel Sandin Pleak was on the ice for like 3 of the Detroit four goals tonight. He had a pretty good game. Nate Danielson scores a goal tonight. Those are two guys who could be involved in the Quinn Hughes trade. But the New York Rangers getting in on things, I think that's a really interesting development if it's true, and I could see it being true based on what's happened in the past between the Rangers and the Canucks and what Chris Drury's done. And Chris Drury, you want to look for desperate GMs as well, and I think Chris Drury is a desperate GM. There's some heat on him in his market. When they did the whole retool thing, I know that was under Jeff Gordon, but he's taken over and hasn't really continued to go in the same direction still. They're a thin team up front. So that's why I think Alexis Lafreniere is probably the guy that goes back, even though they're a thin team up front. It just hasn't worked out with him. But let's see if you're the Vancouver Canucks. Can you get some bidding going on Quinn Hughes? And again, there should be other teams in the Eastern Conference. Hell, every team in the NHL should want Quinn Hughes. I know he's not playing his best hockey right now. Maybe he shouldn't be captain of a hockey man market when things aren't going well. This doesn't quite have that sultry Henrik Sedin or Bo Horvat energy of just being able to put a smile on your face after a loss. But man, oh man, every team in the NHL should want Quinn Hughes. All right, let's wrap up here. Get to a couple of your comments on Locked On Canucks. Oh man, let's go to Rick Roma in the comments. Lafreniere is awful, saying the Rangers have nothing to offer. Also, they know Quinn will be walking to Hudson in 19 months. Not a good look for the franchise. Look, I do wonder if Quinn Hughes ends up in the right situation, because 2 years is a long time. Like, let's say in 2 years, the Devils are still kind of middle of the pack and not doing great. He does get traded to the Rangers, and it goes okay for the first little bit. He's at least going to live right by his brothers, right? Again, I would agree with you, Roma. I think he's more likely probably than not, especially if he's that close. He's probably going to go be with the Devils. But other teams don't know that, right? And a lot can happen in, again, still like we got more than a season and a half of hockey before he can make that decision. If he doesn't re-up before then, right? There is, of course, we haven't really talked about on this show, but the new contract structure in the NHL. I mean, teams have until I think it's September 15th of 2026 to do 8-year deals. Then it's only a 7-year deal. So Quinn Hughes, again, leaving a good chunk of money on the table in terms of this guy's probably going to make $15 million a season, right? That's a good chunk of money to leave on the table if you don't sign an 8-year deal before September 15th of next year. I'm going to switch up gears for a second here in Locked On Canucks. I got some questions about this because of the ad read, but asking for my Geno Smith opinions, And look, there's been a lot of trauma on the West Coast, man. 604 Loop saying, are you a Geno hater? Asking for my Geno Smith opinion. Look, I think Geno Smith at some points reminds me of the Vancouver Canucks, There were moments with Geno Smith in Seattle where you'd be, feeling good about him. And he's chucking darts and he's hitting Metcalf and lock-in. JSN's picking up some balls. And then he just made the egregious turnover. And you're just, yeah, okay. Well, you kind of knew that you're going to get one or two of these a game. It kind of feels like the Canucks this season to me in a way where they surrender a lot, right? They actually probably remind me more like the Vancouver Canucks under, was it early Rick Tocchet days, I want to say? Or, no, Rick Tocchet last year. That's what I'm thinking of. Where the Vancouver Canucks would surrender multi-goal leads. Like, they play good, they get a lead, and then, they just surrender a multi-goal lead and piss it away. That's kind of how I felt with Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks. Let's get to one more comment here. Let's go McKenna, man. Again, Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. They're in full swing right now. We'll definitely be diving deeper into the draft. I'm starting to watch some Gavin McKenna because I really want to know, is this guy deserving of the number one spot? Is he deserving of falling down draft rankings right now? Because there's a lot of publications releasing their rankings that are saying, he might not be first overall. Kyle Bounds talk about Gavin McKenna saving the franchise and keeping Quinn Hughes here. No, and hey, Gavin McKenna might not even be first overall. So we'll dive deeper into that. But for now, I gotta get out of here. One love to you and you for tuning into this episode of Locked On Canucks. Connect with us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you follow us on the podcast site, go follow us. Leave a 5-star review on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the goddamn like button. If you want to chat more with us, join the Discord. Locked On's also now releasing an ad-free Discord for some of our listeners. So that's brand new. Don't ask me too many questions about it, but there's a link for that in the episode as well. For now, I got to go. Canucks lose 4-0, but the Quinn Hughes sweepstakes heating up. I'm Trevor Beggs, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.